Welcome, everybody, to Stay Curious. I'm your host, Mark Marquette. It's my pleasure to bring you another episode here from our studios inside the American Space Museum in downtown Titusville, Florida, where it's been a beautiful Chamber of Commerce day, and there's a SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket to launch in about 40 minutes, so we might hear the roar, but probably happen during our show here. Maybe you'll hear the roar through the doors or the windows here. But glad that you all joined us today. We've got a program that is, of course, current events. We want to talk about the quote evacuation of the Crew 11 astronauts, four of them that will come home a couple weeks early because of a medical emergency by one of the astronauts. We're going to talk a little bit about that, about who's in space, and then we're going to look skyward a little bit. As I was out doing a little stargazing last night, Marty, and the Pleiades Star Clusters directly overhead, and what a legend and the Pleiades bring with us. So, going to have some current event news about what's happening at the International Space Station, and then get you outside to do a little star cluster gazing to end this week here. And my good friend and co-producer Marty Winkle is on the line there to take some of your questions. I'm going to boot up my American Space Museum app here on Stay Curious, and we've got what we've got going here. I'm seeing the beautiful missions there. Not quite live on there yet, Marty, but I'm gonna. No, that's yesterday's show. So hold on a second there, everybody, as I'm trying to effort whether we're live or not, Marty.
I'm getting comments, so we're live.
We're live?
Yeah.
You getting some of the usual suspects saying hi?
Yep.
Okay. There we are, fans up there. Crew 11 emergency return, and we've got the Pleiades Star Cluster overhead. Keith Sewell, good to see you. He's an astronomy brethren. He'll know all about the great legends of the Pleiades Star Cluster, seven little sisters as they're called. Hi there, Kate. Glad that you joined us today. Steve Jokums is there. Dean Babcock, Ophelia in France. RG Jubilee, Mostly Park, Tommy Usiak. All of you wanting to watch today. So we love you for staying so loyal to us, and we're going to have an interesting show today. If you know something that I don't know about Crew 11, please bring it up, as we will talk about the most current events that we've got. But my information comes from astronaut Winston Scott, who I heard on an interview on the Fox News station this morning, and Winston's got a couple points to make there that we'll share with you all here in just a couple minutes. But as usual, we wanted to say, yes, Marty.
It's RG Jubilee's birthday today.
Well, happy birthday, Rosalie. Happy birthday to you. All right. Happy birthday to you. Have a Rosalie, and many more, many more. So, all right. Enjoy that birthday today. I think yesterday was Elvis Presley's birthday, if I'm not wrong on there. So we love to acknowledge the people who sponsor us in so many ways. In Lake County Spaceport is Steve Jokums. That's his side hustle, where he has a company that offers you modeling supplies, detailing products. Okay, he had a record-breaking year this year, thanks to you, I hope, out there, some of you modelers. After all, you can't, this is the way that you put the shuttle protection system, the thermal protection system of those tiles. There's a decal for that, and then also decals for your ISS solar panels, or they might fit on anything else that's got a solar panel. So, Steve, thank you so much for sharing your profits. He sent the American Space Museum about a $900 check that was based on a percentage of his profits this year. And we will always accept that type of goodwill from any of you out there in your businesses, as we are, as a nonprofit, always looking for our revenue stream, okay? And we have got a space memorabilia show. We have the perfect match for you at our Valentine Cosmic Collectible Show. February 7th. From 9 to 3 p.m., astronaut Jan Davis is going to do book signings only, just books only, from 11 to 1 o'clock. We look forward to Jan being more part of our museum. Over the years, of course, she's going to be our featured speaker at our Astronaut Memorial, January 25th. But we're kicking off the publicity for our Space Memorabilia show a week before Valentine's, so you can get that space lover something that they truly will enjoy. And this is my plug for today's show. There we've got Zena Cardman, Michael Fink, the Japanese astronaut Yu, and Russian astronaut Oleg up there, and scheduled to come back. We don't know when. It could be a day or two. All right, and a lot of moving parts on this. And of course, the Pleiades Star Cluster, you're going to enjoy one of the anecdotes about that, because I'll bet you see the Pleiades Star Cluster more than you think, Marty, maybe even on the highways. Who is orbiting Earth is going to be what we're going to feature here in just a second. And there is the Pleiades Star Cluster, that little group of stars up there in the upper right-hand corner. Kind of looks like a little dipper, all right. In this photograph, as I reach over here, there is the Pleiades Star Cluster. This is the bright star Aldebaran that is in the constellation Taurus the Bull, and the Pleiades is in the shoulder of the bull. But I'll give you more information about that here at the end of our program. We also want to remind people that are over 70 and a half years old that you have to get rid of some of your IRA investments in a charitable distribution, part of the government's movement on some of this. So we have people who'd love to talk to you, including our partners, Edward Jones, that handles our finances. So keep that in mind. And hey, some of the people that are watching, I'm going to feature. There you are, Tom Celentano in New Haven, Connecticut. And there's Ellen Leonard and Mitch Rothman. All right. And Ellen, great, both great, all three of you, such fabulous supporters of our museum. Mitch and Ellen were in town during Shuttle Fest, and they've got some of Danny's products there. Danny, the rocket guy that's got freeze-dried iced tea and daiquiri mixes. And Mitch, of course, is administrator of Manned Space, NASA Manned Space Facebook page that you should be part of, and one of the promoters of Moon Day, that we're going to have something going on here soon about that. But thank you, Tom Celentano. Hope it's a nice, warm winter day for you up there in Connecticut. And I keep forgetting to look it up, so I'm going to do it right now and find out how many days old is the moon. This is to talk like an amateur astronomer, because amateur astronomers say the moon is today 21 days old. Okay, it's 21 days old, so that's right there. You see on the left, that is last quarter or third quarter. That means it's going to rise after midnight. So yippee! If you go to bed before midnight, there's no moonshine to interfere with some of the faint fuzzies and other objects that we like to see that the moonlight can interfere with. So 21-day-old moon, and it's great stargazing weather. Some of my brethren might be out at the Bio Lab, we call it, on Route 3 north of Kennedy Space Centers, where we do a lot of stargazing there. So to talk like an amateur astronomer, you know the phases of the moon by the day that it's being illuminated. 14 is, of course, full moon, and 29 days is new moon when it's in the daylight sky, but we just don't see it. So, and a lot of good sentiment there already about the safety of the astronaut, who not necessarily in peril, and I'll tell you a little bit about that in a second, but something's going on that they want to bring that man or woman back quickly. We have these orbiting the Earth today, 10 humans orbiting Earth. Okay, the Shenzhou 21 crew. We'll talk about that here right now. But we've got the Russian attached segment to the International Space Station, the MS-28 Soyuz crew, and then Crew Dragon. And Marty, thanks for using that beautiful picture of a Crew Dragon docking with the International Space Station. And we have 7 vehicles parked at the International Space Station. There's the Crew Dragon up at the top, all right. And the Crew Cargo Dragon is parked just beneath it there at the, I want to say the Destiny port there. I think's what that is. You've got the Grumman Cygnus 23. Japanese is the HTV X1. It's parked there below the Crew Dragon, so you got a big intersection there. Cygnus 23, again, a Northrop Grumman cargo ship. There you got the MS 28 on the Russian segment. At the other end of the Russian segment is Progress 93, and above it, a Progress 92. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 supply ships up there, and none of them can bring back a human being. Okay, only 2 lifeboats are Crew Dragon 11 and Soyuz MS-28. We did have a record 28 parked there, but MS-27 came back with astronaut Johnny Kim about 3 weeks ago. So we've got the Chinese up there, okay, and we've got up there Wang, Wu, and Zhang, okay, are the Chinese Takyonauts is what they call them. And they've been up there for 70 days. This is their entering their 3rd month of being up there. Wu and Zhang on the right are rookies. All right, I know this says 48 days, but this is an old slide that I used. And the man on the left, Zhang, he could be one of the Chinese to go to the moon, because he's got 234 days in space. This is his 2nd trip up to the, no, he's got 256 total. This is his 2nd trip to the Tiangong Heavenly Palace space station up there. Who else do we have up there? We've got these 3 Russians. Christopher Williams, NASA astronaut, up there on the International Space Station now. Sergey and Sergey are up there. And they have been up there since they were launched November 27th last year. 44 days is what they've been up total. Christopher on the left and Sergey on the right are rookies, so they've been up there 44 days. And Sergey Kudservoskov, this is his 228th day on his 2nd expedition at the International Space Station. Now, they're not going to be affected at all, but when Crew Dragon 11 comes back, Christopher Williams will be the only American on the International Space Station. And I'll bet that hasn't happened since the 3-person cruise they had up there on a regular basis 20 years ago. All right. So here's the drama that's going on between these 4 astronauts. This is the 161st day in space, 162nd day actually, for Zina Cardman and Oleg Platonov over there on the right. All right, Michael Fink. This is his 4th flight to space. He's age 58, and this is his 543rd day in space. And Kimiya Yui of Japan, this is his 302nd day in space. And I believe this is his 2nd expedition on the ISS. So the drama is centered around last week, earlier this week, they canceled a spacewalk that they were to do Wednesday with Zina Cardman and Michael Fink. The word was it was for a medical reason of one of the astronauts, all right? It didn't say which astronaut, and they won't say which astronaut. And if I knew which astronaut, I probably wouldn't say it, because you don't want people talking about your medical problems and so forth in public forum like this. But this is the tight lip that NASA is always. Now, we had Crew Dragon 8 returned, and one of those astronauts had to spend, I don't know how long, but they spent a few days in the hospital afterwards. They didn't say which one, and I never heard which one. And when I was asked some of my people that are in the know about that, they just said, Mark, it's private and I'm not going to tell you. So we respect that a whole lot. But something's gone wrong with one of these four astronauts. It could be any one of them, but the suspicion, since they canceled the EVA, is that 58-year-old Michael Fink, has he had a heart situation? What's going on there? By the way, he's from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and he's got 543 days in space on 4 expeditions. He was on the last flight of Endeavour 134 in 2011. Okay, he's on Expedition 9 in 2004 and Expedition 18 in 2008. And his nickname is Spanky. And so Spanky, there he is in a Russian Orlan suit doing an EVA, one of his expeditions. And there he is looking all cool and astronaut-like in a pose shot there in his blue astronaut flight suit there. So what I do want to talk about, let's look at this Crew Dragon docking there, is what somebody in the know said, and that'd be Mr. Winston Scott, Captain Winston Scott, who 2 trips to space and 2 spacewalks under his belt. Winston is the astronaut wrangler out at the Space Center. He brings in all the astronauts of the day out there, and that was handed down to him from Bruce Melnick, who did it for 2 years after John McBride retired from it. John did it for over 20 years, and we miss John. He died a year ago in December, and was just a great guy. So Winston has followed suit with his usual demeanor of being the happy camper of things are going on. So here's what Winston said on television news today when he was asked about this emergency. Okay, 1, if it was a true medical emergency, the crew would be back on Earth right now. Okay, this is a stabilized medical problem. All right, it is an emergency, but whatever the problem is, it has been stabilized. So Winston rattled off what are the things that could happen in space. All right, the low-hanging fruit that y'all know about is your bodily fluids are distributed evenly throughout your body where there's no gravity pulling the blood down. Okay, that's why the heart pumps so vigorously upward through the aortas and other veins to our head. So number 1, could it be a medical? If it was a heart attack, they'd be back on the ground. Okay, but an elevated heartbeat, maybe arrhythmia, these type of things could cause a concern that they would want to bring the astronaut back immediately. Okay, so you got the heart situation, and your fluids are distributed evenly in the weightless space, so more fluids go to your head. Winston's conjecture was that it could be in the fluid system outside of the heart. Okay, that could be causing problems with the astronaut. It could be breathing problems, okay, exacerbated by who knows what. Some exposure to an experiment or something could be on there. Also, intestinal problems, digestion problems are not unknown in space as your body is processing the food not in a different way, but in a different environment. So so you got the heart situation. You got the lymph nodes and other neurological things going on. You've got the digestive system, okay, and the neurological system. Maybe something could have gone on neurologically for some unknown reason that's maybe not affected by space, but just age related, okay? And we're not pointing the finger at Michael Fink because he's 58 years old, but him and Xena were going to do a spacewalk and it got canceled. So the logical thing is it's one of the two of them. There's all kinds of things that can happen to women in space with their bodies designed somewhat differently than men, of course. And another thing that Winston Scott conjectured was perhaps an imbalance inner ear problem, okay, that could be going on. And I can certainly relate to that because I have vertigo. There are in your ears these stirrups and loops that are part of your hearing that balance you. And there's these little crystals, they call them, that can get out of that ear canal and float around. And when that happens, which has happened to me twice, I thought I was falling off the face of the earth as everything is just starting to rotate around you. Not around you like this, but up and down like this. The first time it happened to me, I thought I was having a stroke. I went to the emergency room, and no, I had a crystal loose in my eye. They can see that because your eyes are jiggling. They set you on your side, and you don't know it, but your eyes are jiggling back and forth from this thing, Marty. It's kind of really weird. And then you do what's called the Epley maneuver, which is throwing your head back, all right, then moving your head to the side. And like a snow globe, you're trying to get a piece of snow to go right back into your ear, those crystals that came out. And that's the procedure for what they call, I think, BPH, it's called, the affliction. And I have it, and it's made me be more cautious about moving my head quickly. And if this happened to an astronaut up there, I don't know how in weightlessness, Marty, that crystal would get back in, because when I'm doing the Epley maneuver to get it back in, it's all gravity is bringing it in there. So those are some of the things that everybody out there, including myself now, are conjecturing that could be wrong with our astronaut who is suffering an illness. And I don't know if we'll ever find out about it. Somewhere down the line, it will leak out. But what this has created is a whole bunch of scenarios that, number one, as I just read the latest news releases from like 30 minutes ago from the outlets of the Associated Press and CBS and other news like Spacecom. One, it's not going to affect any Artemis launch, Artemis 2 timeline launch, okay? Two, it probably will affect the launch of the Crew Dragon 12 that's scheduled to launch on no earlier than the 15th of February, all right, which is still a month away. The Crew 12, planned to be the 12th operational, has switched their commanders. Now Jessica Meir is going to be the commander. Christopher Jack Hathaway, a rookie, will be the pilot. It is two experienced astronauts, Jessica Meir. She's got 205 days in space and 3 EVAs on her expedition mission that she did about 3 years ago. And the Russian Andrei Fedyev, he's got 560 days in space on 3 expeditions, and he actually replaced a guy named Oleg, who may have photographed confidential SpaceX documents and was kicked off the crew. All right, that's some of the scuttlebutt that I've heard. Fedyev will be the first Russian cosmonaut to fly twice on the Crew Dragon when that's launched. He was on Crew 6 in 2003, spending 6 months on there. And there'll be a rookie ESA astronaut, Sophie Ardenau. All right, and that's great because we get to see our friend from ESA, Alex Carl, will be here to support that. So we'll get Alex on here to talk to you one day on Stay Curious. So Crew 12 is a month away from launch, all right, actually about 5 weeks away at the earliest, they've been saying. Could that be scaled up? Probably. Also, it could be scaled back, all right. As plans are now, all 4 of the Crew Dragon astronauts, Crew 11, are scheduled to come up, all right. Well, this medical imperative decision is unprecedented in the International Space Station, or for that matter, not unprecedented as far as replacing a crewman, like we know Apollo 13. Tom Mattingly exposed to measles. He didn't get him, so Jack Schweikert went anyway. So this is something that we will see how it plays out. What a thing to walk into, huh? Jared Isaacman, NASA's new administrator, as he's making all kinds of decisions. The biggest decision he made so far was they're going to tear down the testing stands at Marshall that have been up there and are dangerous because they've rusted away down there. So he made that decision this week. But this incident raises the question about the robustness of current space health infrastructures as humanity pushes toward Mars and beyond. Think about this happening on a journey to Mars, okay, or around the moon. The way the Artemis landing architecture is, when the astronauts are on the surface of the moon, the Orion spacecraft is in a 6.5 day halo orbit, they call it. So depending where an emergency was, it could be 6 days, it could be one day, it could be maybe just a few hours away till you could be rescued. So there's going to be some rethinking depending on what this is. The life support systems, of course, are fine, and food and so forth. But an international collaboration is going to have to happen between all the partners of the International Space Station. Just pulling the plug a month early on a crew like this, because they actually like the crews to be up there for about a week together for the handoff before the SpaceX crew that's been up there 6 months comes back. So there's going to be a lot of lessons learned on this, and stay tuned for all of that. As the public sentiment, of course, is mixed with the admiration for the crew's resilience, and but again, you'll have some people saying that these are risks. Let's calculate the safeguards there, and why don't we have a just lifeboat ready to pop into and go down? Because getting a crew a Dragon ready for reentry is probably not a 2-day procedure, okay, so to speak. There's a lot going on. All of the science that this crew's done is supposed to be harvested and put into certain places to bring back to Earth. So there is a lot of going on in Houston right now as the leaders of NASA and our various space centers try to figure out what's the best way to get this crew back safely and tend to the medical situation that is stabilized. Winston Scott keeps pointing out, as a former astronaut, that if it wasn't stabilized, they'd be back on Earth already, probably. Marty, you got a question or comment there?
Yeah, we got a couple of questions. I think they're at least partially answered. Dave Stange is asking, where's Alex located in Germany? But Steve Holcomb said he's located in Cologne. I'm assuming that's so.
Yes,
Sounds
Alex is in Cologne. That's their center. Thank you, Steve.
And Dean Babcock is asking, is there any astronaut currently on board with any type of medical training?
Great question. I am pressed to see who has a medical degree among this group of 7 on the ISS. And if you know that, let me know. I briefly looked at their bios in between the 10 other things I was doing today before putting Stay Curious together. And I don't think there is. In fact, Winston said that when he was on board his first shuttle flight, there was a medical doctor, degree doctor that was on board there that was the medical officer. His second mission, STS-72, the commander became the medical officer, though he wasn't a licensed physician, but he was trained to do the shots and other things that might have to be done. Winston also said that CPR is different in the weightlessness of space than on the Earth. So if there was a CPR situation on board, but I don't know. There's no live video on the International Space Station inside for privacy reasons. So I don't know about all of you that are really into this a lot more than me, if there's ways that you could tell what astronaut might be having downtime right now, and that'd be the sick astronaut. But let's don't conjecture about who it is. Let's just hope that they can get back safely and get whatever's going on. And I this inner ear thing that I have. Oh my God, you don't want to have that. You just can't. One, it creates a lot of vomiting when you are disoriented like that. And both times I had this, the first time it was just horrible. It was like things going around, and I can't keep my eyes open, and when I do, I'm immediately vomiting. Until my stomach just wouldn't vomit anymore. Then the dry heaves are upon you, so it's not a pleasant thing. It's nothing like a flu or the cold, okay? Something like that would be go through the whole space station and make everybody sick. But whatever it is, will create some new procedures and so forth on there. Anything else, Marty?
Well, Steve Holcomb said, according to NASA, all ISS crews are trained in basic medical.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You do get some light medical training, but it's not. But there's nothing like having a licensed physician on board who did ER training as part of their becoming a doctor.
Yeah, but
Yes.
there's usually one astronaut that's more trained than the others.
Yes.
He's
Absolutely.
designated the medical.
Yeah. No, they designate a medical officer, and I hadn't read who they said is the medical officer on board here. It's like Star Trek. You got an engineering officer, Scotty. You got a medical officer, Bones. Okay, they break it all up just like that. And so, God bless them and Godspeed. What happens, we might hear later today that they're coming back tomorrow. But again, orbital mechanics plays it hugely here. Where is the ISS? What is the landing site that they want to use in California, off the California coast? Remember, SpaceX is quit. They said they're not going to land in the Gulf of Mexico. Or on the Atlantic Ocean, okay, around Florida, because they still have to take that spacecraft back to California to get it reprocessed, so they're landing off the coast of California Pacific Ocean. I haven't looked at the weather to see if there's any problems with the weather over there. Certainly, they could land around Florida if they wanted to. So, interesting how this will play out. And stay tuned to it. If you're on the West Coast, you might see them come in as a big fireball on reentry. All right, so I'm going to put a button on that. Yes, that's right, Steve. Outsiders may never know. And one of the conjectures is a mini stroke. That's possible at any age of anybody. Okay, up there. Now, something about Spanky is he took up to space with him the Sands History Museum's mascot, Rupert the armadillo. They took a stuffed animal of an armadillo up there, Rupert. And my partner over there, director Jamie Draper, is just a tremendous communicator. In fact, he is a recipient of the Harry Colcom Award this year. I was honored with that award last year. And he's just done a great job promoting Rupert as a space armadillo on all of his posts and so forth. But Michael Fink, who took it there, has not been allowed to show and send pictures back to it. And the conjecture is at the Space Sands History Museum is that they don't want to start a promotion of stuffed animals in the cupola, though they certainly promote the zero-G indicator in spacecraft, and they sell that out like crazy. So Rupert the armadillo, we will see pictures of him when this crew comes back, because now it's too trivial of a thing for them to mess with. And when that happens, we will show it to you. So, like we said, thank you everybody for watching. If one of the air tubes clogged one medicine to open them is hot sauce, okay. Habanero might be too hot. Okay, Fred Klein. There's some things there. But, this is too big of a thing to be kept under the hat a long time. Somebody that was ushered into the hospital after landing, it might be a different story. Yes, Marty.
Sounds like a rocket going up.
Yes. We're hearing the sound of another Falcon 9 rocket going up. I do hear that. Good one. We missed a beautiful day for it, too, here. So maybe you all are watching that simultaneously with us here. So, yep. Good rumble there, everybody. So, hello, Chris Calais, aka Jacqueline Murakami, there, his wife. So, yeah, little rumble. So that's a good way to segue to our next to talk about uh, what you're going to see in the sky tonight, where it's clear. But just this is the Chinese space station put next to the International Space Station by Philip Smith. Copyrighted. This is in 2020. Philip is one of these sky watchers that takes pictures constantly of the space station. So there's a good look at what they look like in his raw pictures that he took. He put this is on spaceweather.com, and he whipped these through an AI processor, and it came out with these pictures. Okay, oh my gosh, you're saying like, wow, look at the clarity of that. Okay, up there, but AI caution here. This is not what you see. AI harvested pictures out of a database that matched the solar panels and put them on there like a cut and paste. All right, so this is not completely accurate of what was going on right then. It is a rendition based on this photos taken there. In other words, the solar panels are are probably taken out and put on there at the right angles and so forth. But still, it's very interesting to show you the different sizes of the complexes, isn't it, Marty? We don't see many pictures of Tiangong. All right, there you've got two spacecraft. They're Shenzhou, and then their cargo ship parked there. And there we see the Crew Dragon on the right hand side, and on the left hand side is a Soyuz spacecraft parked at the ISS. So just thought I'd end our thoughts with that, and it being Friday, hope maybe they'll be back safely by Monday when I see you again for another Stay Curious. So let's look up at the sky, everybody. Go out tonight. It's so nice down here. And be out at night and look up. It's a beautiful, clear night. And I looked almost directly overhead, and there were these 7 little stars that you see that look like a tiny Little Dipper. But that's not the Little Dipper. The Little Dipper's in the northern part of the sky. This is directly overhead, climbing high from the east overhead and then going to the west. The Pleiades Star Cluster. To end this program today, the poet Lord Tennyson mentions the Pleiades in his poem Locksley Hall, and it says, "Many a night I saw the Pleiades rising through the mellow shade, glittering like a swarm of fireflies tangled in a silver braid." So again, something that sparks the emotions of humanity is what the stars beckon. And this little jewel was first among the stars mentioned in literature. It's in the Chinese annals 2,350 years before Christ, BC. All right, so that's 5,000 years ago almost. Chinese annals had this. European literature references are in a poem by Hesiod in 1000 BC, in Homer's Odyssey and Iliad. Humankind has always looked up at the Pleiades star constellation for guidance. Sailors have relied on it. Let me show you another picture of it there. There's another beautiful mountaintop picture of it. It's in the shoulder of Taurus the bull. Sailors have relied on the stars for navigation, and farmers for when to sow and harvest crops by where it is in the sky. When it starts to set, that's springtime, you go plant your crops. The Zuni tribe in New Mexico called the stars the seed stars. When the cluster disappeared every spring, this was time to sow. Other cultures believe that they seeded the planet and there are the original 7 mothers of this earth. In Greek mythology, Atlas was said to carry the heavens on his shoulders, and Orion began to pursue all of the Pleiades, and Zeus transformed them first into doves and then into stars to comfort their father Atlas. The constellation Orion is said to still chase them across the sky. All right. So this is very rich with stories in there about all of the mythological rulers. Um, and Greeks, Aborigines, Chinese, Native Americans, Egyptians, Persians, India, Polynesians all have wonderful folklore and myths about the Pleiades here. This is a picture I took that you can take with your digital camera. Just expose it for about 30 seconds on a tripod at maybe 2,000 to 5,000 ISO. Well, the science is this. These clusters formed out of a cosmic cloud about 100 million years ago. They were fresh and a tight cluster when the dinosaurs roamed the earth. All right. About 400 light years from Earth. In other words, 300 million years ago, they didn't exist. It would have been a cloudy nebula, and then they were born out of them. So, about 400 light years from Earth, this is the light that we see hitting our eyes when Galileo was turning his telescope to the skies for the first time. And we had a program about Galileo and the 4 Galilean moons of Jupiter, as we talked a lot about Jupiter yesterday. So when Galileo was revolutionized science with his supporting the Copernican theory that the sun is the center of the solar system and not the Earth, these were just the light was just leaving there to hit our eyes. The stars of the Big Dipper are also born out of a cosmic cloud like this. Hundreds of millions of years ago, the famous stars of the Big Dipper may have looked just like this as a tight cluster. And by the way, that's the planet Mars that was near the Pleiades a couple years ago and has now moved out. They all have names. There's a lot of myths involved in this. The 7 sisters were known as the Water Girls or the Ice Maidens. Greeks' legends referred to them as the Oceanids. But the Pleiades originates from the ancient Greek word plein, which means to sail. Now you notice the cosmic cloud around them. That's what they were born out of, not seen with the naked eye. Also, some tribes, Native American tribes in particular, would take a young 12 to 13-year-old young man outside and say, hey, how many stars do you see? Now, in the darkness of the plains of America with the Native Americans, you could see 7 or 8 stars very easily. But if that young Indian could only see 5 or 6, they would say, hey, he don't have very good eyesight. He's not going to be, we're not going to put him out there as a scout. You got to have an eagle eye, a good eye to be a scout. He doesn't see very well. Well, you stay back at the campground with the women and help them cook and clean and take care of, build fires and so forth. So I'm not sure I would have seen all 7 Pleiades, Marty, if I even if I did see them. I might want to work with the gals instead of going out there and on a mountaintop waiting to see if or hunting on there. So all right. But they all have names named after Greek goddesses and so forth in there. And here's a bit of advice. And so Merope, Electra, Solano, Taygeta, Asterope, Mia, Alcyone, Pleion, and Atlas are the 2 out on the left-hand side. All right, those are the 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 that are mentioned. 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 there. And Pleion and Atlas look like one star. Taygeta and Asterope are very hard to see. All right. So these were also sisters of Calypso, Hades, and Hades. Okay. And here's a bit of advice from Hesiod, a great Greek philosopher and writer. If longing seizes you for sailing the stormy seas, when the Pleiades flee mighty Orion and plunge into the misty deep, and all the gusty winds are raging, then do not keep your ship on the wine-dark sea, but as I bid you, remember to work on the land. Okay, 600 A.D. is when Hesiod had that advice for everybody. So, well, of course, I like showing you some of the low-tech and backyard astronomy things that I've done, not to brag, but to inspire you that you don't have to take a picture of them. You can make a sketch of them. Here's a February 12th, 1988, 15 degrees at Bays Mountain Observatory, and I'm using a 17 and a half big telescope, a big reflecting telescope, and I could see with my own eye the nebulosity, all right, on that night up there. So the circle is the eyepiece, and what I saw in the eyepiece, okay, wispy filaments around bright stars, okay, looked like a foggy lens, but when I moved and jiggled the scope, you could really see the cloud-like haziness of it. So it wasn't fog on my lens. As I knocked it around, I could see the lens moving. And that's one of the few times that I've ever seen that. And also seen in Bob Smith's 13.5-inch reflector there. So that was an exceptionally clear night, and one that I will never forget because I have the information about it the day before Valentine's Day in 1988. All right, and then I would have been taking my second wife to dinner the next night there, Marty. Not a chance to look through a telescope then on Valentine's Day. So to inspire you of what I saw like this, that is a very complex, long telescope exposure of on film back in the day, and probably not digital. And the circular outlines in the X's you see are the artifacts of the telescope that is reflecting some of that light of the structures inside the telescope there. But beautiful, isn't it? I had this picture on my wall as a teenager many times, and then go out and see the Pleiades with binoculars. They look fabulous. There's over 100 stars that are part of this Pleiades Star Cluster. So finally, to show you one of the last stories about this, is one of my very favorite stories of Native American folklore, and that is the Kiowa tribe in Wyoming. Okay. As legend has it, the Kiowa tribe were moving south for the winter when they camped by a stream where there were many bears. One day, 7 young girls were playing further up the stream when suddenly some of the bears began to chase them. All right. The frightened girls leapt upon a rock and asked the Great Spirit to protect them from the bear. They were ready to, they were going to die. The Great Spirit heard the girls' cries and made the rock grow upwards, almost vertical on sides, taking the girls with it and leaving the bears unable to reach them. The bears, however, continued to claw away at the rock, leaving deep scratch marks and making it grow even taller, pushing the 7 little girls into the stars. And that rock is the Devil's Tower in Wyoming. Matea Tipi is and widely known as the Devil's Tower, 1,200-foot tall rock formation where this Kiowa tribe legend is centered around. And though I've never seen it before, I call our vehicle assembly building our Devil's Tower because it sticks up off the horizon across the Indian River here, just like this famous Devil's Tower does. So that's one of my very favorite stories about that. And the beautiful Pleiades here, star cluster. Marty, you might know the Pleiades. I alluded to them that you might see them on the roadways at sometimes. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I do, but I won't give it away.
Have you ever owned a Subaru? You've never owned a Subaru? Okay. I had a great Subaru little hatchback there for a while there. But Subaru means Pleiades in Japanese, okay? And the company adopted that as their moniker there. Let me see. I had a little something to say about that. The mythology of the Subaru. You can all see it there as I go backwards in the star pattern. In 1953, Subaru car symbol, as it stands today, was created. That's a long time ago. An attractive oval emblem with silver border and metallic blue background. Within the blue badge, you can see the 6 four-pointed stars. One star is larger than the rest and depicted in the upper left hand of the oval. Okay. Though the Subaru stars might not look like much at first, they actually represent the car's name. In Japanese, Subaru translates to mean Pleiades, or the group of stars that makes up the constellation there, seen high overhead in a fancy shot where the trees that were framing it seem to be moving in the wind there to frame it there. So go outside and check out Pleiades, okay? You will see them, no doubt. Put a binocular on them. Maybe you'll be outside long enough sitting in a lawn chair that you can see the meteor or two go by. But also, maybe you might see the International Space Station come overhead. There's an app for that, and I didn't look and see if we got any passes over here, but usually it's in the twilight of the evening or morning when these solar panels are catching starlight, sunlight. You're not going to see them at midnight because it's too low, though it goes over at midnight and other times during the day. During the night, you don't see them on there. So go out and check it out. Think about our friends on the International Space Station, soon to be we'll go down to the 3 left on it from the Crew Dragon leaves, and 3 will be left from the Soyuz spacecraft there. They will probably shut off some things because I think they needed 5 or 6 people up there to keep the maintenance up there. But it will suspend some science. It will back up and restructure some of the things that are being done in the timeline on the shuttle. I mean, on the space station. Thank you for watching Kate 3.14. Happy birthday to you, Rosalie Jubilee. Hope you have a jubilant one. Thank you, Steve Jokums, for supporting our museum and being a sponsor today. And let me go like this to thank Keith Sewell, watching in Arkansas. He's an amateur. He's a doctor of astronomy teacher, Keith Sewell is there. Steve Jokums, Dean Babcock, Ophelia Sauterelle in France, mostly parked, Tom Usiak, Tom Celentano, Dave Stange, Carlton Bailey, Mark Thell, Fred Kleiner, Chris Callie, and Gary Gerald. Love all of you guys and girls out there. Met quite a few of you. By the way, I'm waving at you right now, Ophelia in France. You're as close as Artemis 2 is going to get to the moon here in Titusville if I was Artemis 2. Okay, think about that for a minute. We hope everybody has a great weekend. And Marty, anything to button up over there in our Streamlabs production?
Nope, looks like we're good.
All right. Thank you, buddy, for being here today. So faithful Marty's been for 5.5 years, and most of which putting up with me. But we have fun doing it, and we're going to continue to do it until we're just forced to stop, okay? So I'll be back with you Monday, see what's happening with the Crew 11 up there. Maybe they'll be back on Earth. Maybe we'll know more about that at that time. So until next week, I'm Mark Marquette, thanking you for spending your time with us here on Stay Curious, thanking you for supporting our museum in the ways that you do, and thanking our staff here for helping me facilitate this program every day. As we love doing it, we love reaching out to you. So until next week, I'm Mark Marquette, saluting you all and saying, I'll see you again next week to bridge the space between us.